The Vault of Humanity. In the year 2005, the Humanity Archival Storage Project was commenced by leading government officials, scientists, and academic alumni across the world due to their fear that humanity's treasures were increasingly threatened by war and natural disasters. The project was one of the most complex undertakings in our species' history, the creation of an archive of humanity's knowledge and culture. The archival simplexible computer was designed in the early days of the project. The device was composed of iron, the most stable of elements, and built to stand as a testament to our species for millennia. After the construction of the ASC, I was assigned to the HASP team. We were a diverse bunch consisting of representatives from the fields of science, history, the arts, and every other possible area of human study. Our task was to program the device with the information and artifacts worth preserving. Our group started off cordially enough, but we quickly broke down into sects and factions as we started to fight viciously over what would be saved. The artists wanted musical samples and paintings saved, the historians wanted their nation's prized documents included, and the scientists wanted their formulas and theories preserved. Eventually, through a series of backroom deals and shifting alliances between groups, a compromise of sorts was reached, and onto the device went the formulas of Newton and Einstein, the plays of Shakespeare, the music of Mozart, and the paintings of Picasso and many of the other great discoveries and creations of humanity. In 2012, it was finally time to store the device. Locations around the world were scouted out, ranging from the Himalayas to the bottom of the Atlantic. Eventually, a decision was made to place the ASC beneath the Sweeney Mountains in Antarctica. The location was free from war and fault lines. The frigid cold would even slow down wear and tear on the machine, extending its lifespan for another millennia or so. It was the perfect place to station the device. Construction of the ASC vault started in 2013. The process took another year, but eventually the construction team reached suitable depths. I was there for the opening ceremony, as a drill team dug through the last 20 or so feet to reach appropriate levels for the ASC vault. At around noon, I heard the drilling stop. I thought they had finally reached acceptable levels, but the loud screaming that quickly filled the air freed me from this thought. A rescue team was sent in, but they reported that the drillers had hit a cavern hundreds of feet deep. The rescue operation was quickly launched, but all that was left of the team was corpses and smashed machinery. They had simply fallen from too great a height for there to be any survivors. During cleanup, the body recovery team discovered something rather unusual. An ASC-like device wedged into the corner of the cavern. The device was nearly 5,000 years old. Denial. I waved goodbye to my friends as I stepped off the bus and headed to my house. I was super excited to get home and see my parents. They hadn't talked much at all yesterday. As a matter of fact, they just stayed in their bedroom all day. They haven't been feeling well. I ran up the stairs of the front porch and swung the front door open with a big cheesy grin on my face. However, when I opened the door, there was no one in the den. The television was off, and the house seemed abnormally quiet. I took a step in and started calling out. "Mom? Dad?" I called. I knew they were supposed to be here. Dad had the day off, and Mom didn't have any plans with her girlfriends until next week, right? I placed my backpack on the ground next to the couch and walked into the kitchen to check the calendar. October 5th. I was right. Dad took this day off so him, Mom, and I could go see a movie together. They've got to be here somewhere, I thought to myself. Then it hit me. School let out early today because of the busted water pipe. I looked at the watch on my wrist. It's only 12 o'clock. They may still be sleeping. I headed back through the den and slowly opened their bedroom door. Surely enough, there they lie. A sigh of relief escaped my mouth, and my grin returned. I tiptoed over to my mom's side of the bed and pulled the covers back. I was greeted with the same sight as the day before. She lay there motionless, eyes glazed over, mouth agape. Her skin was pale white, and her hair was beginning to thin. The soup I gave her yesterday sat on the bedside table. It was stale now, and she hadn't even touched it. I'm beginning to think they don't want to feel better. I placed the cover back over her head, grabbed the old soup, and left the room, slowly closing the door behind me. I decided not to wake either of them, considering they must need their sleep. I'm sure they'll be up for it tomorrow. Until then, I have a ton of psychology homework to be done. We're doing this paper on people who have some type of disorder, causing them to live in denial of even some of the most obvious things. I couldn't imagine living like that. A trip to the cemetery. On an early, dim morning, an elderly woman rested her hand atop a gravestone. Henry Blackwood, 1938 to 2004. She rested flowers on it and wept, something she didn't usually do. She always made sure to bring something of Henry's when she made her annual visit to his grave. Her memory wasn't what it used to be, and her brain needed help to get it jogged. She brought something he hated, his hearing aids. She remembered wistfully how he never used them, always insisting he had excellent hearing, despite keeping the television's volume up all the way. Now, all she wanted was his return to her loving embrace. Oh, Henry. She fell to her knees and looked to the sky. How I wish you'd come back to me. Up in the sky, and through her blurred, teary vision, she saw a red star. It was faint, but she heard a malignant chuckle, and the star flashed to match it. Then it disappeared with the rising sun. She wiped away her tears. Strange. Was it the product of her imagination? She stood up and surveyed the area, but saw nothing. It seemed like the moment was merely nothing but an old, senile, womanly mood swing. As she smiled at her silly old self, a question came to her that felt like part of a dark realization. Could the battery in the hearing aid still work? She attached it to her best ear and turned it on. She could hear the rustling of crow feathers in a nearby tree. It probably still worked due to her husband's lack of commitment to use it. Then, swallowing hard, she rested her ear on the ground above his grave. Her mouth dropped in horror as she heard scratching, shuffling, and a familiar voice bellowing a horrified scream.